And I think somewhere lying around I have some Papermate colored leads in 0.7. So yeah, and I think that's fairly new for Papermate, the colored leads, because I think they came out around beginning of this year, sometime beginning of this year. Because I haven't seen those in stores until the beginning of this year. And me and my friend like to sketch in those. And actually, speaking of my friend, I think it was her who got me into using these Papermate pencils. So yeah. Anyways, the next art supply I want to talk about are, I think this is the fourth art supply, no, the third art supply I want to talk about. Well, I think this is the third. Yes. The third art supply I want to talk about are these Uniball Signo gel pens. And I have the Uniball Signo gel pen in silver, white, and gold. And I used the Uniball Signo gel pens to do this piece, where I added all the gold shimmer, the gold and the silver shimmer. And oh my god, I love these gel pens so much. I probably would religiously use them. I am unaware if they have more colors than these, because at my local Michael's, the only colors I can get are these three colors. They might somewhere on Amazon or somewhere else. But as far as I know, these are the only colors I've ever used, so I can't speak for the other colors. But if you know if they sell other colors, please tell me, because I will buy them, because I love these so much. Like, I actually, like, get hyped to use these. Like, these are my babies, and I use them all the time, especially when I'm drawing Olsen dresses. And the reason I love these so much is because the ink flow is just incredible on these. It is so much better than the Jelly Roll gel pens that when you use these, you can never go back to the Jelly Roll gel pens and be satisfied. Now, I do still like the Jelly Roll gel pens, but the white one, in comparison to the white one here, is absolute garbage. Like, don't use the Jelly Roll gel pen. Well, you can use the Jelly Roll gel pens like the other colors, but don't use the white one. The white one is garbage. I used to think it was good when I was like 2015, just starting out, but it's garbage compared to this. This is what you want to use. And it is only $1 more, because with tax it is $3, and the Jelly Roll gel pen with tax is like $2. So that's only $1 more, and you're getting way more for your money. And this lasts like forever. It lasted, well, one gel pen that I've been using constantly has lasted me like a year, and it still is going. I mean, I can tell it's running out of ink, but it's still working. Like, I was able to do all this with the gel pen that's starting to run out of ink. And it only just started running out of ink like a month ago, maybe 2 months ago. And it's still been working pretty okay if I can do this type of stuff with it. The only reason I can tell it's running out of ink is because it'll kind of take a few seconds to get juicy. Whereas if it was completely filled with ink, it would be juicy right away. And yeah, the reason these are better than the Jelly Roll gel pen, well, the white one at least, is the white Jelly Roll gel pen will pick up some of the color that it goes over. So like if I put it over black, it would actually pick up some of the black, and then the color would become all muddy with the Jelly Roll gel pen. But these do not do that, which means with these gel pens, you can kind of treat them like a whiteout, and you can actually use these to white out any mistakes you make on your art piece with black or something. I do that all the time with these. And, like, the metallic silver and gold ones are so metallic. Like, this looks like actual real silver. Like, it looks like just about as shiny as a real chainsaw or something. I love these so much. And the white ones are, like, so pigmented. The only color that they're slightly less pigmented on is, if you can see down here, is the white. Because they come out slightly, a little bit, like, kind of ish muddy. And they kind of dry on the white. I mean on black. On the color black, they kind of dry a little bit lighter, but it's black, so yeah. And definitely much better than Jelly Rolls work for black, and they don't get muddy when they go over black. They just get a little, like, lighter. The color gets a little lighter. But on any other color, they work fine. Any other dark color, they work fine. And I love these so much. And, like, oh my god, your art will just look so much more better with these. Like, go out and buy yourself a pack of these right now. Except the only thing I would say is, don't, like, use these to color in large areas, because they're really much better for accents. Keep these as your accent pens, because if you overuse these, they will no longer be special. They are only good as accents. I mean, I used a lot of it here, but not, like, so much that it overpowers it. Yeah, imagine if this was all colored in this. That would be so shiny I'd go blind. No. So yeah, sorry, I get overjoyed when I talk about these because I love them. And if you have never used these, you should. And if you only use Jelly Roll white pens, you should definitely buy the gold and silver, even if you don't usually use colored gel pens, because they are so good for highlights and like so good for like accents and things. You will just never want to go back. Like, they're so beautiful. And yeah. The next thing I want to talk about, sorry if my voice is getting slightly farther away sounding. That is because I went over to my bed to go get the stuff. You know how that goes, because everything's on my bed. Is Sharpies and Sharpie highlighters. Boom. I categorized the Sharpies and the Sharpie highlighters all into one category because I thought it was fitting. And somewhere I have more Sharpie highlighters, like I have a pink one and other colors, but I'm not going to go look for those right now. I have other color Sharpie highlighters, but I just have this one that I could find on me at the moment. And for the Sharpie markers, I'll start with those. For the Sharpie markers, we have the Sharpie brush marker. Then you have your Sharpie fine marker for outlining and things. And then you have your Sharpie fine points. This is like a fine liner for outlining. No, this is called an extra fine liner, and this is your fine point. And this is your brush marker. And they also sell Sharpie pens somewhere, which are also really good for outlining. Actually, better than these for outlining. But I don't own any of those, but my grandmother does, so I've used them before at my grandmother's house. They're pretty good. They're like these, but better for outlining, I would say. And yeah, the reason I really love these is because they're almost to the quality of Copics. Now, that's kind of a bad comparison, but I would say that they're kind of just as good quality, maybe. Like, they're completely different markers, but they're kind of good quality, and I like to use these when I don't want to bring my Copics with me somewhere, like school. I wouldn't bring my Copics to school because they were expensive, and I know that I would probably lose them at school. But I would feel a little less bad if I lost these at school or something. Because like a large pack of these is only $20. And if you can't afford any type of alcohol markers, Copics, or anything like that, I would definitely recommend these as an alternative to any sort of alcohol marker. Because I think these are alcohol markers. Just, I don't know. Nope, I don't really know what kind of marker they are. People online don't really know what kind of marker they are, because when people use these, they're just like, oh, I don't know what type of marker this is. I think it's alcohol. People think it's alcohol, so I'm going to say it might be alcohol. But, yeah, these are just really great markers, and they're kind of a good alternative to something like that. And, yeah, so they're kind of a good alternative to Copic markers, and if you're someone who already owns Copic markers, but you don't want to bring them with you places, then you can get these as well. And these actually do a bit of layering. I'll show you what I mean. If I... Oh, sorry, I passed by it. I did something in my sketchbook with these Copic markers right here. I colored in... I called them Copic markers. No, they're Sharpie markers. Sorry about that. I'm used to saying Copic when I say marker. Anyways, these Sharpie markers, I colored in Bridget's hair with the Sharpie markers, with the yellow one, and if you look right here, I was actually able to get a bit of layering and make the color darker, because if I like do this, and I color it like this, I can actually like layer it to get the color to get darker, which is something that you can do with Copics, where if you layer it, the color will get darker. You can do the same thing with Sharpies, okay? So, Sharpies are like a great hack to any type of like alcohol marker. Just freaking buy Sharpies if you can't afford alcohol markers. You can buy them for like $20 for a whole pack. Like of all the colors that Sharpie's range pretty much has. So like if you want all the colors that Sharpie has, $20, that's pretty good. They're not that good for blending though, that's the only thing. So if you want to do blending, they're not that good. But they do the layering thing. Plus half the time I'm lazy and just do flat color to begin with. So, that's what I do for most of my sketches. And then the Sharpie, highlighter. I like to use the Sharpie highlighters to add accents to my arts. If you look here, I used a lot of the Sharpie highlighters to add like accents to the background of my art and really make it pop, because these sketches wouldn't have looked as good without the highlighter. So I like to use the Sharpie highlighter for that, but I would not recommend using the Sharpie highlighter for like school or something, like to outline in like maybe, I want to say like a chapter book, I would not recommend using it to outline chapter books or things because these will bleed through in chapter books. They don't really bleed through that much when you're doing them in sketchbooks and things, probably because of the sketchbook type paper. But in the really, really like thin paper that is like printer paper and whatever paper is used for chapter books, they bleed through. So if you're going to use it to highlight things like on printer paper or chapter book paper, I would recommend using not jelly roll, but like gel pens, because you can actually get gel highlighters, and they're essentially called gel highlighters, and those don't bleed through, which is why I prefer those for actual highlighting, but I prefer these more for art related things. I wouldn't use them for actual highlighting, but I use them for like making my sketches pop and stuff, because they work a lot like markers, and it feels like rather than using a highlighter, it feels like I'm just using more like a really light pastel-y marker, if that makes sense. So that's why I like to use these, because they essentially feel a lot like markers to me, except pastel-y and stuff like that. So yeah, that is why I really like those, and I would highly recommend them, especially if you're someone who can't get your hands on any type of alcohol markers, or yeah, because you know, there are really cheap brands of alcohol markers, but a lot of the really cheap brands are more obscure and harder to find, or you have to go on Amazon or like somewhere else. So these are a good alternative, because you can find these like anywhere. Any store carries these. Art store or not, anywhere will carry these just about. So that's why I really like them. And moving on to our next marker. I believe this is, if that one was 3, then this one is that one was 4. 3? 4? 3? 4? I think that one was 4. So then, yeah, that one was 4. So this one is 5. Alright. So the 5th marker, not marker, sorry, I was just saying marker. The 5th art supply I want to talk about is my Prismacolor Premier colored pencils. I use these probably exclusively as the only, I want to say, high quality art brand colored pencils I've ever used. Never really used any other colored pencils except for Crayola, but those aren't like high class or art. Well, they're artist grade, but they're not like amazing artist grade, I guess. They're more like school grade rather than anything else. But these are like the only, you know, artist pencils I've used. And I use these actually a lot, and I really like them because they're very pigmented, much like with the watercolors. And they are very waxy, and some people don't like them because they go on very waxy, like very smooth and waxy. But I actually really like them because of that. And one thing I found out about these markers, which I really liked, was this. Alright, so when I was coloring this thing with Sharpies, of course, because Sharpies bleed through, it bled through onto this piece. You can see that with the eye. But where it bled through on the Prismacolor pencil, which is what I did for the hair and the background, it is not noticeable at all. Because the Prismacolors apply on the page so waxy. Oh gosh, I didn't mean to do that. I will pick those up later, but anyways, because the Prismacolor goes on the page so waxy, if you were to get marker bleed through onto a page where you colored really dark and really like waxy like I did here with the Prismacolors, oh my god, it would not be noticeable. And they roll. That's their con. That is not a pro, that is a con. But anyways, it would not be noticeable if you were to do that with the bleed through because they're so waxy, and I really like that about them. So that is one of the main things I really like about them. The other main thing I really like about them, which is probably their selling point, is this little thing right here. This colorless blender is so amazing, so fabulous. Let me show you how it works because you need to see this in action to believe it. Alright, so let's say right here, let me get like a nice color. You're coloring in your little square box. And then you're like, oh no, I'm trying to color this in, but it's not. There's still white spaces. What do? You pull out your colorless blender and you smoothen those white spaces. White spaces be gone. And then, huzzah, the white spaces are gone. Because this little baby makes it so you can get a flat layer of color without bearing down so hard on your pencils that your hand hurts and your pencils are probably down to the nib or something because before I realized that the colorless blender could smoothen out the color and make a flat, smooth, softer looking layer of color, I used to bear down like this hard to get a flat layer of color, and then I'd be like, ugh, I like that there's a flat layer of color, but now the color is so dark, and it's like, I didn't like that the color was that dark. But with this baby, I can color as light as I want, leave as many white spaces as I want, and it'll smoothen it all out and make it beautiful, just beautiful. And honestly, I love that about it so much. And that is why I think these are great. Plus, they're really nice for blending, so long as you don't like get too waxy with them. Because if you go too waxy with the Prismacolor Premier pencils, then you won't have any room to do like shading or any more blending. Because you can get to a point with these pencils where they'll get so waxy that you just can't really move the wax anymore, and the color will kind of just, I don't know, like take the wax off the paper. So don't go too like waxy and pigmented, or else you won't be able to move around that color and it'll just be stuck there in an awkward, weird way on the paper, like an awkward teenager kind of just stuck in that teenager years. Like, no, don't do that with your Prismacolors. But anyways, these Prismacolors, all jokes aside, are really good, and I'd really recommend them. Plus, they're super cheap. Like, you can buy them, which is what I've been doing, you can buy them, like, loosely and individually for, like, $1 or $2, and that's what I do. I bought one set of these, but I mostly buy them loosely. So most of the ones I still actually have are just ones I bought loosely. The set that I bought, I think most of those pencils I lost or something from that set, because I don't know where those pencils went. But anyways, that is the Prismacolor Premiers. Next thing I want to talk about is, huzzah, sketchbooks. The first sketchbook brand I want to talk about is the Crescent Render sketchbook. I really love the Crescent Render paper purely because it is bleed proof, and that is like magic to me. And every time I use the Crescent Render, I keep waiting for it to one day the color just bleed through, but it never does, which is magic to me. And that is the main reason why I love these. Sure, the Crescent Render paper does have its share of faults and its share of pros, or its share of cons, its share of cons that any artist can tell you about. But the main reason I would actually recommend it, if you have the money to spend on it, because it is $20 or $30 for these sketchbooks, which is a lot for a sketchbook. So if you don't have the money on it, please don't go out of your way to buy it, because it's not worth going out of your way for. But if you do have the money and you do want to spend it on a nice sketchbook, I would recommend these. I would recommend these. I definitely don't think they're worth the money, and I think they should be maybe cheaper, because I do have some problems with them, like the color lays on the paper dark and then it dries lighter, which is annoying, and the color is kind of fuzzy when you put it on the paper. But the main reason I really do like these is because they're bleed proof, and then I can use all the pages in the sketchbook more, which is really important to me because I go through sketchbooks like wildfire, and I'm only going to go through a sketchbook faster if bleed through is filling up pages that I could be drawing on, because I'm not going to draw on a bleed through page. So yeah, and this kind of makes it so that I can use every page to the fullest advantage, you know what I mean? So I have more pages to use, which means the sketchbook will last longer, and all of that stuff. And that's why I really like it. Like, I think that is such a big pro to me. I want to say con, but that is such a big pro to me that is why I really like this sketchbook, regardless of its cons. Plus, its cons are things that over time using the sketchbook I tend to overlook. So yeah. And then the next sketchbooks I have are these Canson Mixed Media XL sketchbooks. Canson does have a variety of other sketchbooks. They have like watercolor sketchbooks and loads of other sketchbooks. But the main sketchbook I like to use a lot is the Canson XL. And my friend actually really likes these sketchbooks too, so we both like these sketchbooks. They must be good if two people like them. And yeah, they are really good for everything. They work for colored pencils. Well, I didn't like flatten the color out on this one with the colorless blender, but they work for colored pencils really well. Really nice for blending with colored pencils. They're really nice for sketching, except, well, okay, they're not that good for sketching. That's what I meant to say, not the really nice sketching. They're not that good for sketching because if you do sketching on these type of paper, the sketches will actually smudge, so keep that in mind. Sketches smudge really easily on this type of paper, but the paper is really smooth. And they're actually really nice for markers because it only bleeds through to one side of the page, and it doesn't really bleed through any more than that for the most part. Maybe a little bit to the second page, but that's pretty good. They're really nice for outlining, like outlines and like ink just looks so smooth on this paper because it's like so brightly white paper that black on it looks really nice. They're really nice for watercolors too. Like I did this completely in watercolor and it just looks so nice. Watercolors were like amazing in this sketchbook, and just everything was like amazing in this sketchbook. And the colored pencil was really nice too. Like I smoothed this one out and everything, and it's really nice. Especially, it's not that waxy on here either, which is really nice. Like sometimes when you put down the Prismacolor colored pencil, it'll feel really waxy, but these didn't feel that waxy actually when I put it down. So that was really nice. And then the last sketchbook brand I use a lot is the Royal sketchbook brand. Like the Royal, I think this is just like Royal Nichols or something like that sketchbook brand. But if you search Royal sketchbook brands online, or just Royal sketchbook, you should be able to find these. I have this one, which is a large one. This is quite an old sketchbook, but yeah. And then I have this one, which is also fairly old. And yeah, this paper is really nice for sketching and for pencil work, like whether it be colored pencil or graphite. I think it's really nice for that because the paper in it is like very textured, which makes it feel really nice for that. Yes, keep in mind this is an old sketchbook, and it actually works pretty well with watercolor. When you first lay the watercolor on it, the paper will start to buckle, but then the paper dries on the watercolor really nicely. So if you can work through the buckling, it will dry and look really nice with watercolor. But I believe it does buckle a bit at first. But yeah, it's really good for sketching. It's not as good for markers though, because the markers will bleed really like deep. Like I used this with marker and it bled to like 3 pages. See, it bled here and here and it bled a little bit here. That's like 3 pages. So it's not that good for marker, but otherwise it works really well for pencil work, and it works decently with watercolor if you can work with the buckling, because it only buckles a little bit, I would say, but not as bad as some papers in the past I've used buckled. Definitely not as bad. Alright, the next art supply I want to talk about, I think this is the 6th art supply. Don't quote me on that, because I think the other ones were the 5th art supply, so this would be the 6th. It's either the 7th or 6th. I don't know. I stopped keeping track. But this is the next art supply I want to talk about, which is the Jelly Roll gel pens. I know that I said that the Uniball Signo gel pens were the way to go, but I do like to use the Jelly Roll gel pens too, just not as much. Plus, I'm not sure if the Uniball Signo gel pens come in as many colors and as many varieties as the Jelly Roll gel pens do. Except for the white Jelly Roll gel pen, I actually really like these, and I'll show you again with that drawing I did of Grell, where I used the Jelly Roll gel pens in it, because I actually used those as well in the sketch. I used them for the red right here, and that is really shiny too. It's not as shiny as the Uniball Signo, but it's very metallic. The metallic colors, or the moon ones, I think it's like the moon dust ones. No, I think it's the Jelly Roll, yeah, the metallic ones. Okay, the Jelly Roll metallics are really shiny as well. They're not as good as the Uniball Signo, but they're a close second, especially if you want to save like the $1 and buy these, and you want to buy more different colors rather than just those colors, because, again, don't know if the Uniball come in more colors. I should look into that. I probably will after this video. So it's very shiny, and the Stardust ones are very sparkly. And I'm pretty sure the Uniball Signo doesn't come in Stardust, but these do. These come in like regular writing gel pen. So like these ones are really good for writing or maybe like outlining words. These ones are very sparkly, like they're extremely sparkly, and I really like them. Because if you know me, you know I love my sparkly and metallic stuff. And the metallic ones are really good. And they also have like paint pen ones, which I like to use these to sometimes draw on the front of my sketchbooks. Like if I have a black sketchbook like a blank, like a sketchbook with like a black cover that's completely blank, I'll sometimes use the Jelly Roll puff pens or the souffle pens, which I think they're called. I don't know. Can you see that?